Hello students, today we'll study about the sixth chapter of history, that is Bhakti Sufi traditions. Changes in religious beliefs and devotional texts that happened between 8th to 18th century. A variety of religious structures like stupas, monasteries, temples are found in the subcontinent by the mid-first millennium CE. Textual resources like the Puranas, music in different regional languages, hagiographies of saints were also found. These sources provide us with insight into dynamic and diverse scenarios. In this module, we will be studying about the integration of cults, tantric worship, conflicts that arose during the Bhakti movement, early traditions of Bhakti, the Alvars and Nainars of Tamil Nadu, compositions of the Alvars and Nainars, relation with the state and the patronage of Chola rulers. This chapter discusses how textual traditions have been used by historians to understand Bhakti Sufi traditions. The striking feature during the period between 8th to 18th centuries. During this period, a large number of gods and goddesses in sculpture as well as in text appeared. This indicated the continued and extended worship of the major deities such as Vishnu, Shiva, and the goddesses visualized in a variety of forms. The integration of cults. Historians who have tried to understand these developments suggest that there were at least two processes at work. One was a process of disseminating Brahminical ideas. This was exemplified by the composition, compilation, and preservation of Puranic text in a simple Sanskrit verse. This was exemplified by the composition, compilation, and preservation of Puranic text in simple Sanskrit verse. They were meant to be accessible to women and Shudras who were excluded from Vedic learning. There was a second process at work, that of the Brahmanas accepting and reworking the beliefs and practices of other social categories. Through an example, we can say that a local deity whose image was and continues to be made of wood by local tribal specialists was recognized as a form of Vishnu. These local deities were often incorporated with the Puranic framework by providing them with an identity as a wife of the principal male deities. Sometimes they were equated with Lakshmi, the wife of Vishnu. Tantric worship. The forms of worship often associated with goddesses were classified as tantric. Tantric worship was widespread in the subcontinent. It was open to women and men. Those who followed Tantric rejected the caste and class within the ritual context. Many of these ideas influenced Shaivism and Buddhism. Conflicts that arose during the Bhakti movement. There were conflicts between those who followed the Vedic tradition and those who practiced the tantric way of worshipping deities. Those who valued Vedic tradition often condemned the practices that went beyond the performances of sacrifices and chanting of mantras. On the other hand, those who engaged in tantric practices ignored the authority of the Vedas. Early traditions of Bhakti. The historians of religion classified Bhakti traditions into two broad categories: Saguna, with attributes, and Nirguna, without attributes. Saguna included traditions that focused on the worship of specific deities such as Shiva, Vishnu, and his avatars or incarnations, and forms of the goddesses or Devi. Nirguna Bhakti, on the other hand, was worship of an abstract form of God. The Alvars and Nayanars of Tamil Nadu. During the 6th century, some of the Bhakti movements were led by Alvars and the Nayanars. The literal meaning of the Alvars is those who were immersed in devotion to Vishnu. The meaning of the word Nayanars is those who were devotees of Shiva. They travelled from place to place singing hymns in Tamil in praise of their gods. During their travels, the Alvars and Nayanars identified certain shrines as abodes of their chosen deities. Later, big temples were built at those places and developed as pilgrimage centers. Attitude towards caste. According to some historians, the Alvars and the Nayanars started a movement of protest against the caste system. The devotees came from different social backgrounds such as artisans, cultivators, and even from the castes that were considered untouchable. Compositions of the Alvars and Nayanars. The compositions of the Alvars and the Nayanars are considered to be as important as the Vedas. For instance, one of the anthologies of compositions of the Alvars, the Nalayira Divya Prabandham, was described as the Tamil Veda, and the text was significant like the Vedas that were used by the Brahmins. Women devotees. One of the striking features of these traditions was the presence of women. For example, there was a saint poet called Andal, a woman Alvar. Her compositions were sung and sung even today. Another woman, Karaikal Ammayar, a devotee of Shiva, adopted the path of extreme asceticism to attain her goal. Her compositions were preserved within the Nayanar tradition. These women renounced their social obligations but did not become nuns. Their presence was a challenge to patriarchal norms. Opposition to Buddhism and Jainism. The saint poets, the Alvars and the Nayanars, were opposed to Buddhism and Jainism. This hostility is well marked in their compositions, particularly of the Nayanars. Relation with the state, patronage of Chola rulers. The Chola rulers supported the Bhakti traditions and built temples for Shiva and Vishnu. Some of the magnificent temples for Shiva, such as temples in Chidambaram, Tanjavur, and Gangaikonda Cholapuram, were constructed under their patronage. The Chola rulers built temples often to claim divine support and proclaim their own power and status, and adorned those temples with stone and metal sculptures to represent the vision of the popular saints. They made the spectacular representations of Shiva in bronze sculpture. The Chola kings introduced the singing of Tamil Shaiva hymns under royal patronage, taking the initiative to collect and organize them into a text known as Thevaram. According to inscriptional evidence, the Chola king Paranthaga I had constructed the metal images of Appar, Sambandar, and Sundarar in a Shiva temple. These were carried in procession during the festivals of these saints. Thank you.